Hello everybody, welcome to Baldur's Gate 3. This is Jason, and I am getting ready to play through on a mode that is probably going to be me losing several times before I finally get all the way through it, if I ever get all the way through it. That is that I'm going to be playing through in Honor Mode. If you've never played the game before, Honor Mode is essentially Tactician, which is a substantially harder than the base game version of the game, which is already moderately difficult, especially in Act 3. It gets really difficult. It's actually a little harder, and it's single save only and no reloading of saves, other than just like when you exit out and when you come back in. So it's an Iron Man mode. We can take a look here. It says it has stronger bosses even than Tactician. The bosses get legendary actions, which are generally very problematic. Alongside the regular difficulty increases, action, economy, and damage bonus rules are made stricter toward the end of the game. You cannot reload older saves in Honor Mode if events go awry. Your choices and consequences always stick, so that's going to be fun. And if you're victorious and beat the game in this mode, you'll be rewarded with a bespoke set of dice in use for in-game for future playthroughs, which is pretty cool. I don't have those dice, and I would really like them. So I'm going to try and get through Honor Mode. There's kind of a cheesy way to get through it, which is to, if you've never played the game before, I don't want to spoil it for you, but there is a way to end the game at the end of Act 2 without ever even going to Act 3. I will not be doing that. I'm going to try to play all the way through, including Act 3, at which point I'm probably going to lose. I'll be proud of myself if I even get that far, to be honest with you, so I guess we'll make that decision when we come to it. So, anyway, let's play Honor Mode. I've only played Tactician a little bit for practice, so every other time I played through this game was on Balanced, which is the default difficulty, so I'm probably going to get wrecked, but that'll be fun too. So let's go ahead and watch the intro cinematic, because it's been a while since I have. Excuse me. Excuse me, good lord. It's interesting that Lae'zel is apparently the main character in the intro. That was creepier than I remember. I guess it's been a long time since I watched that. Alright. I'm going to pause here while I build the character, because that's going to be a really long process. Let's not reset my tutorials. And then I will resume recording when I have the character actually built. So just one moment. Okay, welcome back. Here we are. I went ahead and went with an Asmodeus Tiefling, but definitely going to be playing a Druid. I'm not super sure yet whether I'm going to be playing a primarily caster Druid or primarily wild shaping Druid. Wild shape is insanely powerful, and in particular if you mix it with Tavern Brawler, it's really good, and you kind of have to steer into the insanely powerful things in this game in order to be successful in Honor Mode, as far as I can tell. So and there's probably going to be some respecking in my future, because the things that are really good early to get you through the early game often fall off, and the things that are super effective late game are generally not especially effective until all of their pieces come together. So early game, mid game, and late game often require 3 different builds, or at least 2 different builds between the 3 different places. So to start with, I am definitely just going to be sticking with a fairly well-rounded. I'll probably be doing spellcasty and hit things with Shillelagh. But then as time goes on, we will go a little bit different, potentially. So, all right. I'm just going to stick with Tav, the good old-fashioned Tav character name. And then I'm just going to take the default Guardian because I don't really care. Yeah, I guess the spear's not going to help you that much against that ship. The interesting thing about the Githyanki is that they are just as mortal, and they age at roughly the same rate humans do. But since they spend most of their time in astral space where age doesn't matter, they are functionally immortal because they only age when they're on a non-astral plane, which is where they spend most of their time. I'm wondering how the riders are tracking the Nautiloid through the different planes they're going to here. Angry dragons. I mean, red dragons are kind of not known for being not angry most of the time. Welcome to Avernus. I always thought it was pronounced Avernus, but I always pronounce those sorts of things wrong in my head, so I have to assume that somebody talked to them about how it's supposed to be pronounced, and they pronounce it Avernus, so. Apparently my boots are made of wood. That's kind of cool.
My head.
So you'll see me do some setup things really quick. I don't like having not enough slots here, so I always go up to the maximum size this will hold. Definitely going with the ritual buff to start with, because, you know, more move is always more better. In normal games, I wouldn't take the time to come up here and get all of this. There's just a couple of things up here. There's a gem and some gold. And I wouldn't normally bother because there's plenty, but this is honor mode, and I pretty much feel like every penny I get, I'm going to want. Everything, every bit of achievement I can get to, I'm going to want to get to. I'm going to be exploiting a lot of things, as much as I can come up with. So there's maybe some things you'll see that you're not used to seeing or that you haven't ever thought of. There were things I didn't ever think of until I read a bunch of strategy guides and other things. One of those you'll see me do extensively is called camp casting, which is basically that any person that you leave behind in your camp, including if you get hirelings, if you put them in your party and then have them cast until long rest concentration spells on you, and then boot them out of your party, they keep concentrating on them even though they're in camp and literally can't lose concentration. So, yeah. I'll be doing that so that I can have some eternal concentration spells on me as time goes onward. So, I'm also going to rest a lot. Though it does cost twice as much as what I'm used to in terms of resources to rest, so...
From this place you'll free us.
Will I then? I mean, I'd like to. Because Us is amazing if you get him later. So good.
They return.
Are we talking to a man or a brain?
Born new from this husk.
You know no creature like this. One that is more brain than person.
I think you're past the point of saving, bro.
Remove us from this body. From this case. Free us. Please.
Okay, well... Given that I know that investigation... So, investigation and really mental checks very rarely end this kind of thing. So, like, if it's... So, this is likely to be... If I fail this roll, it doesn't end things. It just... And succeeding at this roll gives me advantage on the second roll. So, it's always worth doing this first one. So, now, when I do my next...
A swelling of the brain causing pressure where it strains against the shell of the skull.
When I do my next one with the medicine, you'll see I have the advantage situational. I still don't get it for those ones, but then that gives me a... And it's a wisdom based because it's medicine, so that's nice. So it's +3 and with advantage. So I'm pretty likely to get this. Oh, nat 20. Look at that. Cool. So I'm going to theoretically be able to get to Us, assuming that I make it that far into the game.
Lifts from the skull. But you notice an opportunity. You could cripple the strange creature, making it more subservient, should it prove a threat.
0 chances in hell am I going to do that. That's another thing that's interesting, is that making checks, even if you're given the option to either make a check or not make a check, making checks is not always the best choice.
We are free. Our freedom is ours, friend.
The creature pauses, listening. Something behind your eyes seizes in recognition.
We must go to the helm. At the helm, we are needed.
I never got the impression that intellect devourers were this animal-like, you know, this puppy-like, but I don't know. Maybe they've changed over the editions, or maybe I just had a bad impression from the beginning.
To the helm we go. We are going to the helm.
Thank you for staying in the office. Alas, poor Marinath, we hardly knew you. And by that I mean we didn't know you. But at least we have us, who is amazing. Alright. Oh, us is still newborn. There we go. Now us isn't newborn anymore. Alright, us still doesn't have all of the attacks that they will get later and that other intellect devourers have on honor mode. Or even on tactician as compared to honor mode. My character looks so awesome. You can't help but make awesome looking characters unless you're going out of your way to make characters that look really stupid because you want a stupid looking character. Baldur's Gate 3 is great that way.
This is your end. Your head throbs and your skin tingles. Visions rush past. A dragon's wing, a silver sword, and a flash of your face seen through the strange woman's eyes. Oh, my head. What is this? Skvar, you are no thrall. Vlaakith blesses me this day. Together, we might survive. We carry mind flayer parasites. Unless we escape, unless we are cleansed, our bodies and minds will be tainted and twisted. Within days, we will be Geich, mind flayers.
That doesn't sound good.
We can
There must
do
be something
nothing
we can
until
do.
We escape. That must be our priority.
Okay, that's valid.
First, we exterminate the imps. Then we find the helm and take control of the ship. As for that thing, it will remain tame as long as it believes we are thralls. It may be of use in the fight to come.
Okay. Okay. So one of the things that's good to note in this game is that initiative, instead of being rolled on a d20 like it is in regular D&D, is rolled on a d4. So it's a d4 plus your bonuses. So if you have a high initiative bonus, you are almost always going to go before the people who don't. And initiative is a significant advantage in this game. So this is kind of a place to use as much as you want. So they still only got 7 hit points. Doesn't have any resistances. Can see through, magical darkness, so there isn't any reason to do that even if I wanted to. AC of 7. Wow, so their base armor class is still only 8 instead of 10, and then they get -1 because their dex sucks. That's cool. You're going to see me do that a lot, by the way. I usually play with some quality of life mods that show things like their resistances and that sort of thing on their stat block when you're tooltipping, when you're mousing over them. You can't play with mods of any kind, even if they're just appearance mods, just purely cosmetic, and still get the achievement for playing through honor mode, which is what I want. So I want that golden dice set. All right, so I'm definitely going to Shillelagh. And so then this is going to be, D8 plus 3. That's pretty good. So this should kill most of the time. Yeah, that's right. And then the extra movement puts me in range to make it so that any ranged attacks will be much less effective. Nice shot, us. We'll jump over here and murderate. Yes! Dead. Very dead. Cool.
You proved surprisingly adequate in battle. Now, to the helm.
Longstrider is a ritual spell, which means when cast outside of combat, it doesn't take spell slots. And it's until long rest, increase in movement speed by 10 feet. There is no reason not to have that on your characters at all times. And again, quality of life spell I usually use makes it so that it's just an AoE centered on the caster, It's a very large AoE and just automatically applies to every ally in that area, so I don't have to individually cast it. But we're going to have to go through a lot of administrative stuff and can't really afford to take shortcuts if we're going to be successful anyway. So some time will get consumed in getting through all of that. For right now, one of the things that used to bother me was the carry weight restrictions, until I found out that once you get... There's really no reason. Anytime you're going to be interacting with a store, you can also then go to and from your camp, at which point then your camp stash, which can store literally an unlimited amount of stuff, means that the only things you need to keep in your inventory are things you're actually going to make use of. So potions, scrolls, that sort of thing. And you basically have more than enough. I'm just going to go ahead and shillelagh and kill these guys because, hey, free XP. Can't believe these guys are harder to hit while they're laying there drooling on themselves than the imps are. I'm sorry if I skip any dialogue. I've seen it a bunch of times, and so I just habitually skip through dialogues. I will try not to, but I apologize if I do. Yeah, I don't care, Lae'zel.
The construction is too alien. Nothing looks familiar.
This ship is crashing. Do you intend to die for a stranger?
You're a stranger. Yeah, I'm gonna go look around.
Contraption next to the pod. They did something to it when they sealed me in. Hurry! Please!
The console appeal
look for a switch.
mechanisms are completely unrecognizable at first. But then you spy an empty socket.
Okay. What if I hit it?
Nothing. The console remains dormant.
What a surprise! Kicking it didn't work. Alright.
Whatever fits in that socket must power this thing.
Normally I would kill the intellect devourer, but then us would get all mad and turn on us. So I'm not gonna. I'd rather keep us around, thanks.
How many hosts of these gay infected?
I'm gonna do all these interactions. I don't know how many of them have XP values, if any.
As you place your hand on the pod, you hear something. A presence connected to the pod, commanding the person inside to change.
That was unfortunate.
Changed at the pull of a lever. How? If we are not purified, this may be our fate.
Yeah, that's not supposed to be how Ceramorphosis works. It's supposed to take time, not happen when you push a button.
This might unlock those controls next to the pod.
I'm not picking up the brains. I don't really want to. If you're wondering about the brains in jars, there is a place where you can connect them and talk to each of them individually. There's some lore there, and it's fine. That is not what we're doing here, and if you're interested, feel free to go through and do it. It actually is pretty interesting and fun. It just is not something I'm going to do right now. I'm not entirely confident I'm going to make it that far.
The console hums to life. But what is its purpose? Will it free the captive or transform her like that other unfortunate?
Yeah, that's... Well... Shadowheart, let's hope this doesn't turn you into an illithid.
A parasite. Then discomfort fades, and another sensation washes over you. Connection. Authority.
Alright. Yay, I didn't roll a 1.
You feel the biomechanical brain of the console process your command and yield to it. A shiver runs across your mind. You feel sated,
Hello.
I thought that damn thing was going to be my coffin. Thank you.
Your mind lurches into her thoughts. Her gratitude is mixed with wariness, because you have a Gith with you.
You keep dangerous company. More that Gith have a problem with everyone else. But there's more important matters right now. Survival.
It's actually not entirely
come with
untrue. She does have a
We
problem
can get
with
off this ship and
everyone
watch each
else.
other's backs along the way. Shadowheart. One moment.
What was
It's
that?
nothing. Trust me.
Enough
Sure.
of this chatter. We need to
I'll
get
trust
to the
you,
hell.
person I've
Now.
never met before.
She's right. Lead on.
And with the sigil of Shar on her chest. It is kind of funny that you're always just like, what? You worship Shar? When she's wearing it literally on her. It's worked into her armor on her chest. Whatever. That's just the way video games work. Character design and in-game like things don't always work together. Alright, so I'm going to try. There is kind of a dirty trick you can do here. I'm not super convinced that it's actually going to work on honor mode, but we're going to try it anyway. That seems good. And that is that I'm going to try and make the Demon Lord drop his flaming sword.
Inside, do as I say.
Who put you in charge? I'll trust my own judgment.
Cane yank.
They're both such bitches. They both have really interesting storylines. And don't get me wrong, I like all of the characters in this game. I think they're all well written. But in terms of which ones I personally would get along with and or have any desire to keep in my camp and adventure with, they are not on the list. They would not make the party if the human was in that party. Kills a Cambion just to get killed by a bunch of imps? Come on now. How worthless are you?
Connect the nerves of the transponder. We must escape. Now.
Do it. We will deal with the Geich after we escape.
Connect the nerves. Nerves. We will connect them.
See, he pronounced it Avernus. Oh, he has 2 attacks. Oh, he's gonna kill that Mind Flayer real friggin' fast. Yeah, we're gonna have to kind of hurry this along. Oh, come on. Boo, you were supposed to kill him. I don't want to run across the fire, so... why must everything be left at 1 hit point? Let's come over here. Loot this dude. Kill that thing. Run some more. I'm going to pick up as much loot as I can, because, you know... Oh, that stun is going to save my ass. Thank you. Because with 2 attacks, that Cambion, 2 attacks with the giant flaming sword, is going to shred this Mind Flayer so fast. So luckily him being stunned, he doesn't get to make those 2 attacks. So that makes me happy. And that gives me a chance to get by. Because if this Mind Flayer goes down, then this Commander Jalkir starts coming after me. Which, as you can imagine, is suboptimal for my continued health. Yes! Thank you. You have anything? Yeah, sweet. Crossbow. Nice. I always send the gems to my main character, because that way I don't forget about them or whatever, but that's not really a big deal. You're not really going to lose any of this stuff. Ooh, I should have cast Longstrider on Shadowheart before we started this. And that's the kind of mistake I really can't afford to be making. So that's unfortunate. I stopped there, by the way. Stopped short because right about here is once I get to that spot, it triggers the next set of enemies to come in, and I don't want them to come in until I'm ready for them. Alright. Hey, Commander, drop that shit. Ah! Okay, well, I'll get one more try. Yeah, look how fast he's dying.
Take the transponder.
Shut your dirty mouth. How about that? Is that a fun game? So let's go forward a little here. No, sorry. See, skip that.
Hurry before they strike.
My bad. Well, I could do a D8 fire. Entangle doesn't really do me any good. Well, that's weird. I didn't have any attack spells. That's kind of a weird thing to do, but let's do this. Oh, I didn't realize you could hit allies with that. Whoops. Well, these two I'm going to have advantage on, so that'll save me a lot of potential issues. Here's a good spot. So, unconscious and dead are functionally the same. Just so as you know, there's almost never a difference to them. Alright, let's try drop one more time. Yes! Oh, wow, that hurt a lot more than I thought it was gonna. Drink a potion. I don't need her dying. Alright, and then this. We'll move over so that Lae'zel can use it. But you have to... So on lower difficulties, once he's dropped it, he won't pick it back up again. On this difficulty, on Tactician and on Honor Mode, from what I understand, he's happy to pick that sword back up again and keep wielding it. I don't think this Cambion Lieutenant has anything right now. Okay, he doesn't. And I don't think killing the imp that's laying there unconscious actually does me any good. No, don't quite have the range on that. I mean, I guess I can heal? I don't really know if there's anything good for me to do here. I guess I can... I could actually just go activate the transponder, but I want the XP for killing these guys. So I'll just get into position to make sure I can do that next turn. That sucked. Wow, you missed even with advantage? I guess it has disadvantage because that's in melee. So, nice. Wow. Critical hit for 9? How did I crit for... Oh no, it wasn't a crit. Oh no, it was a crit. So I rolled like crap. 6 on 2d10. One of them was re-rolled. Good God. That's awful. So that was just a really crappy roll. Okay, good. Now it's dead. Now I've gotten them all.
The Helm's alien transponder. You've made it in time.
Ish. In time-ish. Even without me using the transponder, it somehow shifted itself into astral space? That's kind of weird. See, I haven't watched this in ages either. I was under the impression that the nerves in this transponder are the only thing that causes it to shift plane to plane. So maybe I don't know how the Nautiloid is supposed to work. To be fair, I haven't read any Spelljammer rules since since high school, so my guess is the rules aren't the same anyway anymore. I guess it makes sense that they'd be like, yeah, we want to go recover that ship. Well, and in particular, you know, I'm hoping not to give too many spoilers, but I'm assuming most of you have played at least a little bit of this game. And so there's the knowledge of, like, the Absolute, and, like, at least that the Absolute exists, and who and what the Absolute is meant to be. Lucky not to end up a pancake, yes.
As you wake, the tadpole squirms in your skull.
Squirmy. Make sure I'm not dead.
You're more or less intact. A miracle, given everything you've been through. But it all
Head, chest,
for
arms,
if you don't
legs,
find help
ass.
soon.
Yes, I still am intact.
Tadpole is a death sentence, and the clock is ticking. You need a cure.
This poor fisherman did not fare so well. Yeah, I'm not going to try to steal that.
You're alive. I'm alive. How is this possible?
Yeah, I don't have any idea.
I remember the ship. I remember falling. Then nothing.
Do you know where this is?
I don't recognize this place. But anything's an improvement on where we just came from.
Valid. We
First
just
things
came from
first,
hell.
We need
Literal
supplies,
hell.
shelter, and most of all, a healer. We might have escaped, but we still have these little monsters in our heads.
Takes more than a normal healer to deal with a mind flare tadpole anyway, but so you want to do this together?
We need each other, and we both know what's at stake. Can't think of better company.
And that's a good point. Let's do this.
One thing, just before we go. I wanted to thank you again for freeing me. It would have been all too easy for you to run right past my pod, but you didn't. I'll remember that.
Thanks.
Lead the way.
So there are a lot of more redeeming qualities about Shadowheart. She's at the very least more likely, because she's at least grateful. She's more likely to be someone I would spend time around, although she's just such an arrogant bitch that eventually... I mean, I probably wouldn't kick her out of the camp, but I would certainly not be like, yeah, let's be best friends. Dead fisher. Bucket of fish. I'm going to be gathering all the camp resources
Fresh water. There must
because
be a settlement somewhere nearby.
instead of 40, it takes 80 to long rest on tactician and up. Most of the rest of this I'm just grabbing because it will sell for a handful of gold. More dead fishers. Yeah, look, a fish. And a loot. Hey, lockpicks. Like lockpicks. They call them thieves' tools, but they're lockpicks because you don't use them to disarm traps like you do in actual 5th edition. Thieves' tools are both for picking locks and for disarming traps. And in this, thieves' tools are for lockpicking, and trap disarm kits are for disarming traps. So, all right, unlocked a bunch of recipes, but I don't have enough. Oh yeah, hey, before I get into a fight, let's level up. I'm about to go get into a fight, and I will just get one shot if I'm not. Okay, so here I need to make the choice. I was hoping I wouldn't have to make it this soon. I forgot that it was at 2, not at 3. So Circle of the Land basically makes you a Druid wizard. And Druids have some of the most effective and awesome spells in the game. So they're very good for that. So it doesn't hurt to do Circle of the Land. Circle of the Moon, on the other hand, is absolutely devastatingly, insanely powerful. Because if it pairs well with so many of the more broken abilities, most specifically Tavern Brawler, because all of your animal attacks, so everything except the very top end where you can turn into elemental myrmidons, make unarmed attacks where you get to add your strength bonus twice, and it's the strength bonus of the form you're in. So like when you take on owlbear form, for example, which has a 20 strength, instead of +5 to hit and damage, you get +10 to hit and damage. So you hit all the time, and for a truckload. It's really, really good. That said, the Circle of the Land spellcasting does give me more flexibility, and I could still then load up on heavy frontliners with 2 of my other 3 slots, because I'm going to have Astarion, or somebody. I could use a hireling, but I'll probably use Astarion. I like him. He's fun. He's an asshole too, but he's at least a funny asshole. But so I'm going to have somebody who's going to be handling all of the traps and the lockpicking and all that sort of stuff. So having the caster who does all of the utility, crowd control-y kinds of stuff, as well as being the damagey spellcaster, seems like it could be good. I could mix someone in who can do both, like Will, who's a warlock, and if you build him right, he can be both a pretty solid frontline character and a reasonable caster. So Circle of the Land is okay in melee anyway early on. You can still wear medium armor, which is generally pretty good, and carry a shield, which is pretty good, and you can shillelagh a torch, which makes it do a d8 and then it does a d4. So it basically is like a flaming longsword, which doesn't suck. So that might be just what I do to start with. So let's stay with Circle of the Land. I think I can make it through. I think I'm going to take... So I can take Guidance, but the temptation on that, it's good. It's very good to have. But it's also kind of a pain, because if I don't have it, I'm not tempted to use it and break any concentration spells I might be concentrating on. But I'll just be careful. All right. And then for right now, I'm just going to accept Shadowheart as she is. I'm not going to really do anything to mess with her. Alright, and then I'll be right back in just a second. I got to go to refill. Okay, so let's get to this. I'm about to start dealing with these guys. I'm probably going to want to sneak up on them. Might as well recover my level 1 spell slot. I'm actually going to move Wild Shape and Spell Recovery out of my spell block. I just kind of feel like that's more suitable. Just rearranging these things to be a little bit more user-friendly for me. Let's look at what spells I can have prepared. So, this is actually more powerful than you think it is, because it's a big area that gets wet, so then if you cast an ice spell into it, it freezes over and makes an area that's difficult for enemies to get across, and they can slip and fall and lose their turn. I mean, there's a lot of advantages to this, and also any enemy who is wet is inherently vulnerable to thunder and cold damage unless they were immune to it. So they retain their immunity, but even if they were resistant to it, they become vulnerable when they're wet. So that's pretty cool. I think Ice Knife is still my best bet. Fairy Fire isn't bad. Fairy Fire is not going to help me that much. And I know that because these guys now have a ranged attack. So this might actually be a good way to section it off so I don't get a lot of ranged attacks and they have to close to melee anyway. I'm actually considering wild shaping before going into the fight. And actually, more than considering, I really think that's a good idea. I could go Spider. Wolf is actually really good. So you can use a thing to give extra movement, which is fine. And then the fact that when they're in melee, you have a exposing bite, which does less damage, of course, but if you hit, the next attack in it within 5 feet will automatically crit, which is really good if you're doing something like following up with a sneak attack. But I really think that the poison is the right choice here. Also, the dexterity on the spider is really good, so I can hide, and it's pretty great. And I can also web areas up, which is pretty nice. Actually, let's put both of us into hiding. She actually is pretty good at hiding, all things considered. She could put Blessing of the Trickster, so I might as well do that to get... Oh, I didn't realize that was concentration. Neat. Okay. So now we're gonna sneak in. Now, they literally can't see us unless we step in one of these red areas. So, I think we're going to start this fight this way. Oh, and it's poisoned! And they're surprised. Because I jumped them. So, I already used my action. You don't get it back when the fight starts. So I'm going to web up this area here. Oh, it was close enough to the fire that it lit on fire. Okay, well that's... I was trying to avoid that, but okay, whatever. So I could come up here. Okay. And then here I'm just going to try shoving this farther. Target cannot be moved by force. Oh, it's webbed. Oh, that's interesting. That was unexpected. Let's web the intervening space. Ah, there we go. So here, I think I'm going to go with the spell and just try to kill it. Yeah, there we go. One of the nice things is that spiders are immune to being enwebbed. Oh, he saved against venomous bite. I'm going to jump up here. So, this could be lethal. It's a 50-50 chance of hitting, and then about a 50-50 chance of killing, so it's a 25% chance he just dies. I'm not super in need of my spell slots right now, but I'm not going to... There we go. That was good enough.
Perhaps our survival isn't such a distant prospect.
Yeah, that was probably not necessary. All right, I'm going to unspider. I am going to move produce flame so that it's over here, though. This is a racial ability, but it'll eventually burn itself out, so take all of that. And then I don't have to worry about getting stuck on it. You can also, if you have an ice spell, which I often do with Gale when I'm doing these sorts of things, you can set it on fire with Firebolt and then put it out with an ice or water spell, so Ray of Frost puts it out, which is nice. And I might as well take... Neither of them are concentrating right now, so... I'm mostly going to skip the dice rolling, because I don't really care about the suspense that much. I'd rather just get to the results. Alright. If you've never gone over here, I always do this. You won't always succeed at getting it. You can eventually get there, but there's a stash down here. Somebody has to have, I think, at least a 12 strength, which Shadowheart has, in order to lift this rock, but then you also have to succeed at a nature check in order to notice that the rock can be moved. You just move it until you see it turn yellow with the little blue line. And then you interact with the little chest down here, and huzzah. That ruby's worth like 50 gold, so it's not messing around. Alright, looks like we're going to get Astarion. We'll probably get Gale as well. Well, maybe we'll just get Astarion. And we were getting on board about an hour of recording here, so...
brain things cornered.
Good for you.
There, in the grass. You can kill it, can't you? Like you killed the others?
Do it yourself,
I
Dillweed.
was hoping for a kind soul. Well, not to worry.
Okay, well, we're gonna try and evade that. Oh, nope!
Let's try to keep that lovely neck of yours in one piece. Hmm? And you, keep your distance. No need for this to get messy.
I need her alive. Stow that blade, or I'll show you just how messy things can get.
Ah, promises, promises. But I have other business, I'm afraid. Now, I saw you on the ship, didn't I? Nod?
Yeah, let's try it. We'll try headbutting him. Yeah! Let's take that! I bet the horns make that way more painful.
Your mind twists. You're looking out of unfamiliar eyes, prowling dark, busy streets.
And those
You try to
nails
hold
look
the
like they'd
memory,
hurt
but
too.
It fades to the worm, the light, the fear.
What was that? What's going on?
Mind Flayer.
The worm. Of course. That explains things somewhat. And to think, I was ready to decorate the ground with your innards. Apologies.
Oh, yeah, no. I get it.
A kindred spirit. My name's Astarion. I was in Baldur's Gate when those beasts snatched me.
I don't like that it makes it so that you have to have been Baldurian unless you have a specifically of a race that wouldn't have been from Baldur's Gate, but...
Is that so? We clearly move in different circles. So, do you know anything about these worms?
Not other than that they turn us into mind flayers.
Of course it'll turn me into a monster. What else did I expect? Although, it hasn't happened yet. If we can find an expert, someone that can control these things, there might still be time.
Control it?
Well, yes, of course. But first things first.
I love Astarion so much. All right, come on with me.
You know, I was ready to go this alone. But maybe sticking with the herd isn't such a bad idea.
Well, if you have a mind worm,
like a useful person to
and
know.
I have a mind worm, we at least have that in common.
I accept. Lead on.
We have goals in common, so... There isn't really anything to choose at Rogue Level 2, so let me... make sure we can all... Yeah, that's long rest charge, so short resting wouldn't help anything. Let's kill this Mind Flayer. So, don't talk to it.
Even if injured, best be careful.
Don't talk to it. Just cave its skull in.
Death is too good for it.
I guess I will get Gale in, and then we'll call it a day.
Dead goblins over there. Worth checking for supplies, maybe.
Seems good. Oh, before I get too far, I like to keep my camp inventory pretty well organized. So, Shadowheart's one of the few people that I'm certain, basically, that I'm never going to be picking up camp supplies with her. So this way I can keep all of my camp supplies in a supply pouch in camp. Okay, and then I want to make sure I got plenty of short swords, so I'm going to make sure that Astarion has a pair of those. The other option is to go rapier, but I really prefer to have the dual wielding. More potential hits means more often and more likely it is that he'll actually get to use his sneak attack every round, and that's kind of important to me. No, I don't need to really be manually sorting, so I'll stop. So.
What's going on with the room?
Approach the sigil on the stone. Magic glitters and swirls from it erratically, as if malfunctioning. It looks slightly dangerous.
Yeah, slightly. And it shocked me.
A hand? Anyone?
Well, no matter who it is, it's probably best to help them, so. You can fail to get Gale out of here.
Whatever you're doing is working wonders. Now a quick little pull should do the trick.
That's a lot more than a quick pull.
Hello. I'm Gale of Waterdeep. Apologies. Usually better at this.
Introductions?
Magic. See, I know you, don't I? In a manner of speaking. You were on the Norse-Lloyd as well. And I can only assume you too were on the receiving end of a rather unwelcome insertion in the ocular region.
Yeah, I couldn't have phrased that
No use
any worse.
sugarcoating it, is there? The insertee we speak of, this parasite, are you aware that after a period of excruciating gestation, it will turn us into mind flayers? It's a process known as ceramorphosis, and let me assure you, it is to be avoided. You don't happen to be a cleric by any chance, do you? A doctor? Surgeon? Uncannily adroit with a knitting needle?
You seem to know enough about our condition to realize it's beyond most clerics' skills.
Most, no doubt, but I find myself hoping to be in the presence of the few. You don't happen to be one of them.
No, unfortunately not so much.
As we've established, few enough can. It's not exactly a common affliction. We're most certainly going to need a healer, and soon too. How about we lend each other a helping hand once more and look for a healer together?
Alright, yeah.
Most excellent. Parasite shared is a parasite halved. Or something to that effect. Oh, but before you think you're about to embark on a journey with most ill-mannered a man, thank you for pulling me out of that stone. It was an act of foresighted kindness, I assure you. For I have the feeling ample opportunities will present themselves for me to return the favor.
I don't think I'm probably going to be bringing Gale with me most of the time, so evocation is not really good. I'm going to go ahead and go transmutation so that I can use him to make alchemy while in camp. So if he succeeds at a DC 15 medicine check every time I make an alchemical solution, I get 2 copies of the elixir, and that's just super worth it, and I'm not probably bringing him with me anyway. My main character is a druid whose role kind of overlaps with that of wizard, so... but that does mean I want to be able to have him cast some good solid buffs. So let me find... Like, this is until long rest and gives the ability for somebody to dash as a bonus action. Protection from evil and good is insane, though. I think I might actually take this. There's plenty of scrolls of it, too, but I can sell them if I have it. And, yeah, you cannot be charmed, frightened, or possessed by aberrations, celestials, elementals, fae, fiends, and undead. And those creatures have disadvantage when they attack. Now, if they hit you with an AoE or something like that and disrupt it, that's a problem, but since he's going to be maintaining this from camp, it's a lot easier. So, that's cool. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. So I haven't found this to actually work lately. I don't know if there's something broken or whatever, but whenever I redo all of this stuff, I guess I haven't tabbed off and back on, but then I hit accept. When it comes back, oh no, he has. He does have changed. That's kind of good to know. What happens if you elevate this? I wonder. I guess it doesn't really matter to me right now. For right now, he's in my party and he's staying there, so I'm just going to keep him there. I now no longer need to have this. Well, I guess I'll worry about it there, because if I take it off, then I have to recast it on everybody else, so... Alright, so this is a good place to end. I will do any of that little like bookworky stuff I have to do later. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you're enjoying. Very soon, like the next couple of encounters, this is going to start to get really nasty, because there's the entire temple where you find Withers, which is a temple of Jurgle, and then there's the goblins at the gate encounter, and both of those are going to be so much harder than what I'm used to. That I think this should be fun. So anyway, thanks very much for watching. I hope you're having a good time. Let me know if you want to see more. I think I'll probably be making these anyway, but just determines where I share them. So have a good one.